Good morning, Jesse.
How are you, Ben?
Yeah, great to talk to you. How have you been?
Good, man. Happy New Year and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you too, Jesse. Should we jump straight into this? Should we have a chat first, or should we just go straight for the public?
You tell me.
Okay, well, my tape player's recording, so yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
So, what's the news then, Jesse?
Well, we've had a lot of success this year, man. Or last year, I should say. We just had our 1 year anniversary,
Oh,
January 19th,
all
of the
right.
release of the site, and we figured collectively through the membership, we've probably saved between saving and pocketing, meaning saving money, right?
Yeah,
If it's helping you stay in your home
yeah,
and not have to pay a mortgage,
yeah.
or you've sued the debt collectors and gotten rid of debt and gotten paid. We're well into the millions.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Phenomenal, man.
Well,
So,
let's just remind some of our listeners because there might be people listening to this that aren't familiar with what you guys are doing. So just remind us what it is you do.
yeah, well, we started, it's nothing that we do. It's actually what our members do, what we teach our members to do, which is more important to us than anything, is the empowerment.
Hmm.
What we have come across is over the last couple of years, as I'm sure you're familiar with, a bunch of processes that are very expensive that generally don't have any teeth and don't work.
Hmm.
They sound great in theory, but when you get before a judge or you try to enforce it, or they'll push you into an enforcement position, you have none.
Hmm.
And I got tired of that. I really felt bad for our community, and if you want to call it the Patriot community, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of homeowners and good people out there that have just got caught in bad positions. You know the old saying, bad things happen to good people. So it's not like everybody's a deadbeat that doesn't want to pay their bills or can't afford their home and says, I'm just not going to pay because I don't want to pay, even though sometimes that's a smart deal now here in the U.S. But at the end of the day, it's a system that's meant to fend off debt collectors, and what I mean by fend off is hold them accountable for their misdeeds.
Hmm.
If they're calling and harassing you, if they're embarrassing you, if they're threatening you, you can get them, and you can get them under several different acts. The Federal Debt Collection Practices Act, the Telephone Communication Practices Act, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the and any accompanying and mirror imaging state acts, which the only state in the union that I know doesn't have anything that mirror images it is Georgia. It's the only one. Every other state does.
Right.
And I know you have a lot of listeners in Canada. Believe it or not, we have a lot of members from Canada and the UK. And what they're utilizing the system not so much for the law, but for the process. And we've been working and working, trying to get together a UK side and a Canada side. It's tough. There's a lot of information out there. And once again, no, I don't want any misinformation. So anything we do has got to be 110%.
Right.
But in essence, I'll give you an example. So, um, somebody calls you after 9 o'clock or before 8 o'clock in the morning. That's a violation. That's $1,000 phone call. If they happen to be calling your cell phone and you'd never given them any permission, add another 1,500 to that. And like, for instance, I live here in Florida. Well, that would be another 1,000 for the state act. So that's $3,500 for a phone call.
So just to be clear, you're talking about if like a debt collector or a bank is calling and hassling you. Is that what you mean?
Correct.
Right. And
Correct.
and you can actually charge. So according to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, that's a violation, is it?
Absolutely. It depends on the call, the type of call, what they say during the call, what they don't say during the call. If they don't read you your mini Miranda, this is a right, this is an attempt to collect the debt, anything you see, little things. And once again, we teach our members to be able to understand all the little nuances. Okay. We give them cheat sheets and everything else that I tell them, hey, have by the phone. Have anywhere where you're at that you might get a call, take it with you, because it's a little 1.5 page cheat sheet, and anything that can be violated is right then and there. So during that phone call, you're going to know, well, they didn't read me the mini Miranda. Oh, they threatened me, or they said something inappropriate, or they didn't introduce themselves correctly.
Right.
Uh, there's a lot of little things that people don't realize, and I got to tell you, man, there's nothing better for me, and nothing gets me more enthused than to see our members being successful. I mean, I can't tell you. how much it just gets my blood going.
Right.
It does. I want to read you one. Dave wrote in. Dave is a skeptic. Dave has his own radio show. Dave has seen it all. And I got a hold of Dave last year. It was April or May. And I says, Dave, listen, I want you to look through this. I want you to give me your honest assessment and see if we can go for it. And he looked through it and he got really excited. And he says, wow, this is awesome. He says, I want to get this out to the listeners. And they did an interview, whatever, just like you're doing. And he wrote me here, this was January 27th. And it says, you have heard me talk about the success that I have had with going after the lawyers and debt collectors in the federal court. This week, I made another settlement with yet another debt collection firm for $2,000, bringing my total to $14,900 so far from being the plaintiff and suing these people.
Wow.
Yeah, if you have not taken the time to look into this and realize that this is something that you can do, going after them, that you have going after the people that have robbed us, then you are missing the boat. You can do this with a little bit of education and some time. You can start your cash flow going in your direction.
Wow.
But if you're perfectly satisfied just whining and complaining about all that has been taken from you by the banksters and liar lawyers, then I guess there's nothing I can say. Yeah, when enough of us learn to be the plaintiff in court going after them instead of being the defendant with our back against the wall with daggers coming at us, then we will make the difference in what is happening in today's environment. We need many more participants doing this.
So this guy is one of your members, is he?
Yes.
Right. And
He actually went after it. He's not the biggest guy, believe it or not. We had our biggest settlement to date is $528,000.
wow.
Yeah, it's $500,000.
That was an actual payment, an actual check, was it?
Yeah, that was a judgment and a free and clear home.
Oh wow. So you managed to clear the mortgage and get rid of the bank.
Yeah, well, he did. The member did, not me.
Right, right.
But yeah, see, we just offer a lot of support. We have a call on Tuesday nights. We have our webinars on Wednesdays. We have two other organizations that are actually backing us. We've never asked them to do it, and they are support calls on their Mondays and then Thursdays.
Right.
So these are members that have taken it upon themselves to say, you know what, we like this so much, we're going to support these guys and host our own calls. And that's what they're doing. So actually, we have a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and a Thursday support call.
Wow.
Listen, if you can't make it work, something's wrong with you.
Right. So the conference calls are free. People can listen in on the podcast or something, can they?
Absolutely, and they're all done on TalkShoe,
Okay.
except webinars. The webinars is when you talk, directly to Larry or myself.
Okay.
And that's exclusively for members on Wednesday, and of course those are recorded. Listen, Ben, for $99 and $49 a month, you use it as long as you want. To collect $14,900, let's just do some numbers here, just because I love to do these numbers. I tell people this all the time, right? You got $49 a month times 12 is the $588, and you added $99 to that, you got $687, right?
Right.
For the whole year. So if he's made $14,000, what was it again? $14,900. Let's divide that by the $687. 21.68 years he's paid for.
Right. Right. So I just want to be crystal clear for our listeners so they understand what you're saying. So this guy had a bank or a debt collector hassling him for money. They violated various fair debt collection practices criteria, and for that he sued them, and they paid up.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And once again, we don't say, you know what happens with these theories, as I always call them out there. They always say that you can do this and you can do that and you can do the other, but the proof is never shown. On all our stuff, all our sanitized checks are right there on the site. The members put them up themselves.
Wow.
We don't even ask them to. We have a little bragging rights board in our forum, and they come in there, and boy, they brag and they brag and they brag. So every check is there. It's an awesome deal. And
Wonderful.
Dave's particular situation, a lot of what he's been doing is um, going after these people for pulling credit reports that they shouldn't have been pulling.
Right.
Meaning they're going into your credit report looking, right, for something. What it is, we don't know. We make the assumptions, and I'll share those assumptions with you. If you're in my credit report and I've never applied with with you, you're not offering me a firm offer of credit, then what are you doing there? I have to assume you're looking at my credit report and in order to collect some debt.
Right.
So now you violated the FDCPA and the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Oh, I see.
So what Dave has been doing is he pulled, and we tell all our members, if you want quick money in the first 30 to 60 days, pull your credit report. Look at all the credit pulls. There's something called a hard pull, and there's a soft pull. The hard pulls are the ones that are shared with everybody. Everybody sees, right? If I pull your credit, I'm going to see that somebody else was in there. The soft pulls allegedly are not seen by anybody else, just you.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter to me.
Hmm.
They'll come back with their nonsense and say, hey, we have authority to be there, da 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 da. That's fine. Prove it. If not, pay me my 2,500 bucks. Have a good day.
Right.
So you go into your credit report and you look at all these alleged collects, in my mind, to collect some unknown debt. Why are you there? Right. So I just send you the notice of intent to sue letter. If you don't respond, then we go ahead and file a lawsuit, and all of a sudden I get a response. Because a lot of the times they think you're blowing smoke, you know?
Oh, right. Oh, I see. So if you allude that you might sue them, they kind of might think that you're bluffing or something, do they? Or
Correct.
right.
But we actually had one. We've had several, but one in particular I remember. One gal settled this whole thing with 4 emails for $4,000 in 6 days.
And they paid up.
They paid up, sir. I told you the proof's in the pudding. The proof's right there. We don't lie. Here's a check. Here's a copy of the check. You can look at it. So
It's incredible. So people can check out their credit report, and if people have been checking out their credit report without the proper reasons, then that's a violation potentially.
absolutely. Once again, see if you had an 850 credit score, perfect credit,
Hmm.
or if you have a 300 credit score, terrible. What does it matter? They're still in your credit report and you still owed money.
Hmm.
So this is not only for people who have bad credit or are in dire straits or in foreclosure or in credit card debt. This is for people who have perfect credit and have no debt, or perfect credit and are paying on their debt perfect. It's
Hmm.
got nothing to do with the debt. And that's what everybody seems to overlook. It has nothing to do with the debt. It has to do with your behavior.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's key ingredient that people have to keep in mind. If I owe Ben Lowry $1,000, that still doesn't give Ben the right to show up at my house threatening to break my legs.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the questions that what a lot of people want to know is, if they're in foreclosure or they've got a mortgage, is it possible to stop that? I know some of your members have achieved that, right?
Not only is it possible to stop it, we have added another component that is up and above our normal system. With our system, and once again, it is a system, and everybody's situation is a little different. There's no two foreclosures that are alike. Okay.
Mm.
So you can't answer the question when somebody gets on the form or on the phone call and says, hey, I just got served with foreclosure today. What do I do? The best advice to tell them is go join the site, go read over all your different options, pick whatever option you are facing or how they approached it, and then go from there, because it's impossible. I can't tell you, Ben, your foreclosure's same as mine. It's not. Okay.
Right. Right.
But our system stops foreclosure 100% of the time. 100%. Not
Wow.
99, not 90, 100% of the time. But we got something even better. For about 4 months last year, I went on a search for a good securitization audit. And I don't know if you've heard of mortgage audits before.
I remember you mentioning it last time. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I finally found one right before Christmas. And the securitization audit uses the Bloomberg process. They go through Bloomberg, They got access to the Bloomberg terminals through a couple of traders, and they'll go in. If you don't have your loan number, but you have a loan amount or a zip code, and they'll find your loan. They'll see what pool it's in, what securitization pool it's in.
Right.
And that's been literally killing foreclosures dead in their tracks.
Oh, right. Because it's
Yeah.
been securitized and transferred into a
It's never been transferred. What we have come to, here's what blows people away. What we have learned is that the actual mortgages never ever made it to these trusts.
Oh. Oh,
So you
wow.
have a trust that's trying to foreclose on you that never even had possession of that note and mortgage. That's part of the scam in America. And it's easy to tell. It's easy to tell for the experienced eye. As I always say, Ben, brain surgery is easy, right? For the brain surgeon.
Right.
But if I cut your head open, you're dead in 5 minutes.
Right.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
So I don't try to do things that I know I'm not qualified to do, right?
Right.
I'm not a securitization audit expert. I don't know how to look through all that Bloomberg stuff, what to look for, where to look for it. I don't know how to look through the SEC completely. I know a lot about the subject matter, but it doesn't mean I know how to go out and do it and follow through with it. So as a pro se, meaning I'm fighting this on my own, I'm still hiring people to do things because I want to make sure it's done by somebody that I can call to court and testify that I know I can depend on.
Mm.
But long story short, what's happened is, for instance, when you're served with a foreclosure here in the States, and it depends, obviously, if it's a judicial or non-judicial state. Sometimes when you do the qualified written request, they'll send you an alleged copy of your note and mortgage.
Mm.
Well, you look at that copy, and on the back of that copy or on the top of that copy, it'll say certified copy, and then it'll have some initials there. We don't know whose initials those are. But more importantly, you look at the back page, and you won't find an allonge, an endorsement, stamped or attached to it. Okay? That copy just has a copy of the alleged mortgage and note that you signed at the time of closing.
Right.
Okay? But when they actually bring the original note to the court, you'll also find all of a sudden it has an endorsement or an allonge on it.
So they've.
Oh,
Oh, I see. So they've.
that's a dead giveaway that what they sent to the trust was a copy of the note and mortgage, while they took the original, endorsed it, and went over to the Fed window, collateralized it there.
I'm a little bit lost. I don't really understand what. So what does that mean then?
What that means is the note never made it to the trust.
Right.
So they don't have a right to foreclose.
I see.
And you prove it.
Oh, I see.
The original note, here it is. It has a stamp, it has an allonge, it has everything it needs to have.
Right.
But the copy that was filed with the foreclosure is different. Why is it different? Do you understand now what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. So, Jesse, do you think would you mind just explaining us just a little bit about how this securitization process is supposed to work for our
Yes.
listeners? Just give us a bit of insight.
Okay. Let me go over the misconceptions that are out there that the mortgage and note was securitized. No, it was not.
Okay.
What was securitized is the investor's money. So investors put up billions of dollars into these securitized pools to create bonds. Okay. These securities were traded then on Wall Street, and there were several different levels. There's interest only, which are IO strips, which pay interest only. You don't own any principal. You don't get any principal off of them. And then there's the principal strips, which are the principal balances owed on these things that you get. For instance, I put in $10 million. I get a little piece of that principal back, and I get a little strip back of interest. So I get a little bit of both. Okay.
Right.
So I'm getting some of my 10 million back. I'm getting some of the interest back.
Yeah.
If I was just getting interest only strips, I would have put up $1 million hoping to get 3%, 5%, 10% interest quarterly.
Yeah.
Right? Every 6 months, every year, depending on the bond payout schedule. Yeah. So I'm not getting my $1 million back. I'm getting it back in interest. but I'll never see the million first, right? So that means I would have to have 10 payments at 10% interest to break even. And then after that is profit for me as an investor.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, people think that they would put together these mortgages,
Hmm.
notes for, say, $1 million. Let's just keep it very simple. $1 million. And then they would securitize that and create these securities instruments from that $1 million. That's not the case.
Oh, right.
The case is here's $1 million in cash from investors, and we're going to securitize the $1 million in cash, create a bond out of it based on these $1 million versus worth of mortgage payments and mortgages that are coming in.
Oh, right.
So
So,
then there'd be a fund manager sitting there or a bond manager, and as one mortgage within that pool, which was pledged as collateral for the $1 million, would fall out because of non-payment or foreclosure, his job was to hurry up and bring in another one.
right.
What happened is over time, as we know the collapse occurred, he could not keep up with new mortgages. There was more defaulting than there were new mortgages being brought in.
Right.
That's what's caused the collapse.
So are you saying that the trust or whatever it's called, the pool or whatever you call it, it doesn't actually own the title to the
Never
property?
had, never did.
Right. So in theory, so the misconception is that these mortgage titles gets transferred into a trust and then they sell whatever the securities. But that's not actually happening. They're just kind of they're doing it hypothetically on the cash flow they're expecting to come in from the mortgage payments, are they?
Correct.
Got it.
So, so what happened was, in almost every case, the security was created from copies of mortgages and copies of notes
Right.
that were literally emailed to these trusts,
Right.
to the trustees, right, that are in charge of the trust.
Right.
The originals were taken to the Fed window by the banks and collateralized there too.
So they're basically selling them twice, basically.
And 3 and 4 and 5 times.
Oh my God! So they're monetized. So investors that are buying these securities are actually investing in something that's not secured
Not
by
there.
property.
Exactly. Absolutely so. That's exactly what I'm telling you.
But they probably think it is. They probably think it's secured by property.
Well, not anymore. A lot of these investors are suing the banks now.
Oh
So it's
my
all
God!
coming to light. Yeah. But see, a good securitization audit will go through that chain of custody, not the chain of title.
What's the difference?
Okay. Title means I had it and I assigned it to Ben.
Hmm.
Ben then assigned it to Larry.
Hmm.
Larry then assigned it to John.
Okay.
And then I assigned it over to my servicer. That's not what I want. Because, first of all, you can't find that. Second of all, that's what all this robo signing is about. All these fake assignments from MERS, right?
Okay.
According to their own pooling and servicing agreements, which is the PSA, which is what the trust is based on, okay? There's certain closing dates that the mortgages had to be in there, and then they had to have the note physically delivered to them, to the custodian.
Right. So
That never happened.
there's something significant about the original thing with the signature on it, is there?
Without it, you have nothing.
Okay.
It's like me having a copy of $100 bill. Can I go buy any groceries with it?
No.
Okay, then. Can I collateralize it?
No.
Can I spend it?
No, I guess not.
Okay, so now you see the value of the original.
Oh, I see. So there's people coming forward. These trusts are coming forward to sue and try and evict and stuff, and they don't actually have the
Exactly.
original. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And they never did have it.
And without that original, they don't have a legitimate claim. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Right? So now what happens is you want to ask for that chain of custody.
Custody meaning the physical possession
Who
of the
held
actual note.
physical possession of that note from the minute that it left the closing or the title agency or the title attorney's office when my wife and I signed it?
Got it.
Where is it? Who had it? Give me the title. I want to see it in the books and records. Here, 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 here. Where is it?
Right.
Because that means the trust didn't ever have it.
I
So what are you
see.
doing? That's called a wrongful foreclosure. That's called a RICO. You can sue them for common law fraud. You can sue them for all kinds of things.
Oh, I see. So they're bringing forth a false claim. If
You
they're
got it.
if they're
Absolutely.
Right. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I guess, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. They'll probably bluff and pretend it doesn't matter and pretend that a copy is sufficient, will they?
Of course.
Right.
And that's why you have an audit done prior. So you have a lot of people who are facing foreclosure or are thinking of what we call a strategic foreclosure,
Right.
right? They say that look, 26% of all homes in the United States are underwater on their mortgages.
Wow.
Okay, so that's 26 out of every 100 houses. It owes more on that property than it's worth.
Yeah.
Why would you want to keep paying on that liability? So a lot of people are saying, you know what, I'm not going to pay on this no more. I can go rent the same house for half of what I'm paying on a mortgage payment.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Mm.
So you get your audit done, you follow our system, and all of a sudden you're in a position to where you already know that the person you've been paying isn't even entitled to collect those payments.
Right.
And as soon as they make a move, you cut their head off.
Wow, 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 wow. So,
And you have all the evidence in the world. The
yeah.
other difference is that all of our mortgage uh, securitization audits, not mortgage audits, come with an affidavit signed by the auditor who's willing to testify in court if need be.
Mm.
It hardly ever gets there. I've never seen one get there.
Wow.
Generally, they know because once you submit the affidavits, you have all the all the supporting documentation. They know it. The attorneys go, oh, and they just drop the case. They know better.
Wow. My
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, it's pretty strong stuff.
It's
But there's
incredible.
something out there. Here's something out there. It's called a mortgage audit or a forensic mortgage audit, which is absolutely useless. But
Okay.
people charge thousands of dollars for it. It's ridiculous. TILA and RESPA are not mortgage foreclosure defenses. They're nothing more than a slap on the wrist.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I'm not familiar with what those things are. What are they?
Well, the TILA and RESPA, they're just settlement. It's here in the States. It's a Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act
Oh.
and the Truth in Lending Act, which is TILA.
Okay.
They go out there and they try to use these things, and these forensic loan audits, as I laugh at them, are absolutely useless. So what if I didn't sign correctly here, or so what if they didn't get it over within the 3-day right of rescission, or these are stupid little things that you're entitled to $1,000, $2,000 for.
Okay.
Okay, it doesn't entitle you to getting a mortgage free and clear.
Okay. So what's the difference between that type of audit and then the one you mentioned?
Because ours is a securitization audit.
Right. So that's more powerful, is it?
Well, it's Ben, you don't see it by now?
Right.
It's
Yeah,
already
I do.
come
So, so,
on, yeah.
so
It's who held this note, who has the right to foreclose, and if you have it, Ben, how did you get it? Show me who had it before you and before you and before you.
right. So with the forensic one, the best we're going to achieve is we're going to collect, a few thousand in penalties because they didn't follow the procedure properly. Whereas the actual
Securitization audit,
that
yeah, will kill
that
your case and
right.
put you in a position of suing them back.
I see. So that's the one that really uncovers whether they've even got a claim, on the property at all, kind of thing.
Well, more importantly, it's not even if they have a claim; it's they brought a claim.
Hmm.
And now, once again, remember what we said? Our system is based on bad behavior. So
Yeah.
you attempted to bring a claim that you didn't have the right to bring.
Yeah.
Now I can sue you.
Right.
Now is the time to go hire a good attorney and get him doing what he's supposed to be doing. And we even have more experts that I don't even want to talk about their names because everybody on this who listens to this is going to know who I'm talking about. But we work with several other people that are willing to be hired that will literally just slap them so hard they won't know what hit them. I'm not kidding you. See, people have a misnomer that they're going to get everything for free, and that's not the way it works.
Mm.
If you're going to get a 2 or 3, 400,000, $1 million home free and clear, you're going to pay $5, $10, $20,000 over the course of 4 or 5 years to get it there.
Mm.
It's not going to be free. You're not going to get experts to testify. You're not going to get people to work for you. You're not going to get attorneys. You're not going to get any of that. And you're not going to be listened to on your own. I promise you. Once
Right.
you get to certain levels, you got to have somebody that the judge is going to base some credibility on, because the best answer for an attorney, okay, to say back to a judge when the judge looks at you and says, you're not getting a free house, is for that attorney to look at the judge and say, well, neither is the bank.
Mm.
But if you say that, you carry no weight. You're just a scumbag homeowner.
Right.
But if you have experts and you have testimony from those experts and you have affidavits of those experts and you have attorneys hired, and if your house ain't worth 5, 10, 15 grand over the course of 4 or 5 years on $1 million home, I don't know what is.
Right. I see. So,
Okay, you're not paying a mortgage, for Christ's sake. Save some money. And when you get to the level that the system tells you, okay, listen, you're in a perfect position to drop what would you call that thing on them when they behead people? The guillotine
the
on them.
guillotine. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're there, hold off, don't drop it. Let somebody that's an expert drop it,
I
where you
see.
don't even have to open your mouth anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, and we always say, listen, the little stuff, go for it. But at the end of the day, man, when you look at this, our system provides you a mechanism to produce all that cash to get you there anyways, from your credit reports, from debt collectors calling and harassing you, from letters they send you. So we give you the means to the end,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So if you're just a member and you do what you're supposed to do, you'll have more than enough money to hire the experts to get these things done. We're charging $999 for a securitization audit, and it's free to see if your mortgage is securitized. Just put in your information, and it's free. There's no charge.
Mm.
And then you make the decision. But we also give you the way to look at your credit report and look at one credit pull that's unauthorized, and for you to get $1,000 paid for your audit.
Yeah.
You follow? How
Yeah.
can you complain about that?
Right. 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 So,
You know, so you always hear the whiners and the complainers, as Dave said in his little letter he sent over. But those are the people that nobody's going to be able to help, and all the money in the world's not going to be able to help. So it doesn't really matter.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, I see. So within what you teach, there's several different strategies. Like people can just start off with collecting a few grand because, some bank checked their credit report without the proper reason to do so, and then from there they can start working on their mortgage and right.
Yeah, you've got so many ways to skin a cat that it's ridiculous, but it all works. At the end of the day, the cat is skinned.
So you've got members that are still in their home and they haven't paid their mortgage for a long time, and the bank is no longer chasing them, no longer trying to evict them, and
I've got 6 of my own
you're
that are all over 4 years. I have members in there that are going on 4 years. See, in Florida, we have a 5 year statute of limitations, so that's part of the goal is to fend them off for at least 5 years.
right.
And on the site, it tells you per state what your statute of limitations is. As a matter of fact, we just had one crack to 5 years, and after that, they can't come after you anymore.
Wow. So did you mean 6 of your own members, or did you mean
No,
properties?
6 of my own
Oh,
properties.
you're at 6 of your own properties. That right? Wow.
Yeah.
My God. So, hang on. Forgive me for kind of repeating, but I just want to make it crystal clear to our listeners. You've got 6 properties that did have mortgages on at some point, presumably, that you were paying, the regular monthly payment, that you're no longer paying, and the bank's basically not, you've still got them and they're there, and you haven't been paying the mortgage for years, basically. So,
Correct. And
right.
this year will be the 5th year towards the end, in the fall. And then after that, it's over. They're mine, all of them.
Right. Okay.
And I don't feel bad. Let me tell you why. They're all securitized. They all collected insurance when I defaulted, so they were all paid. They've all been collateralized 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah.
If you read my news section, you'll see we had some things going on where the central banks and the Feds, the central banks in Europe, in your part of the world,
Mm.
and the federal here, are allowing these banks to rehypothecate their securities. Rehypothecate. So they're taking bad securities and securitizing them again.
My God. Yeah.
It's scary what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely scary.
Jesse, I saw on the news that in one of the states, I think the Attorney General was suing a whole bunch of banks for this kind of stuff. But I don't know much about
A
it. What?
lot of the attorney generals have gotten together. And of course, the Obama administration is trying to get the sweetheart deal for the banks.
Right.
He works for the banks. He doesn't work for America.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's what he's trying to do, is trying to get a sweetheart deal and get all these AGs, the attorney generals, to to concede, and a lot of them are not doing it. They're saying no way, because in essence, what you're saying is you're going to let the banks get away with crimes that you wouldn't let people get away with.
Yeah.
No way, that ain't going to happen. So
Right.
let's see what happens. Let's see how many of them get sold out.
So, so people, a lot of people say to me, Ben, yeah, but at the end of the day, why do we deserve to have a free house? But the banks really are committing fraud. They really are lying. They really are being deceptive. They really are selling it and monetizing it several times over, right? So we shouldn't feel guilty about any of this.
No, absolutely not.
Right.
There's nothing free there.
Hmm.
There's that, last night, this is last night, and I told my wife I'm going to use this with Ben if it comes up.
Hmm.
And I'm going to give you an example. When we as civilized people, as allegedly, and everything's allegedly because we all live in a fantasy world, okay?
Hmm.
When we allegedly, as civilized, right,
Hmm.
morally correct people, look down at the guy who lives on the Serengeti plains or in the plains back in Australia chasing the kangaroo around, the nomads out there,
Hmm.
and they got to go out and hunt every day, and they're throwing their spears and killing deer and shooting their arrows and doing their thing, right?
Hmm.
We look at them as barbaric. We look at them as people who aren't civilized.
Yeah.
But yet you have a whole society of people across this planet like us who are the only slaves. We're the real slaves. Those people are not slaves. They have to literally never once in their lifetime will they be questioned about anything
Hmm.
by any authority because they never have to look to authority for anything.
Yeah.
But here, we get up every day and we go to work for what? A piece of paper
Hmm.
that's worthless. It's a piece of paper no different than the piece of paper you used in the bathroom this morning.
Hmm.
So who's the real smart person and who is really a slave here?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
See,
In our society, we're living in an invisible cage, really, aren't we?
that we keep, and then we're stupid enough to perpetuate it
Yeah.
by saying things like, well, I got money. Well, that's a piece of paper.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's a piece of paper. See, they created a piece of paper. See, those people like Indians and the Africans and the Aborigines and that, they understand that they cannot own or claim anything because God created all of it.
Hmm.
In our society, as smart people, we borrow fake pretend money on a fake piece of property that the bank claims to own or somebody claims to own
Hmm.
that in reality can never be owned. So it's all fantasy.
Hmm.
That makes sense?
Yeah, right. So the title and the claims and all that type of thing, it's all in a fictional world, right? It doesn't
It's all
exist.
fiction.
Yeah.
You see, you don't see the Aborigines getting mad at each other because, well, we're over here in the fall where the water is and the rain is, so we can still have water and our cattle can graze. Well, wait a minute, that's my land. You can't be here. No, that doesn't exist in that culture because they know that it's God's land. It's not your land.
Hmm.
So we divide ourselves, which is what slaves do, right? Some rule for the master, some say, no, the master's no good.
Hmm.
Just look at the old Roman history, right? You look at it and you think we get out of bed every single day to go perpetuate and support a fantasy system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can live in my fantasy world and I can say, this is my land. It's not your land. And if you don't believe me, don't pay your taxes
Hmm.
and see who comes knocking at your door to take it.
Yeah.
It's not your land. It's not your car. It's not your boat. You're just a slave who's been brainwashed to believe that you're going to trade your physical labor, your smarts, your intelligence for a worthless piece of paper that somehow you've been conjured into believing has got value.
Yeah.
That's the sad part. And you'll fight that. You'll rob, you'll kill, you'll steal for that piece of paper.
Hmm.
And I give you another example. If I am starving and I'm walking down the street and there's Ben standing there with 25 pounds of gold,
Hmm.
do I even care or do I just keep walking? I'm hungry. Ben ain't got nothing but that damn gold.
Yeah.
But if I'm walking down the street and I see Ben holding one hard boiled egg, I'm going to cut your head off for that hard boiled egg.
Hmm.
Do you see where the value is?
Yeah.
It's all fantasy. That egg is necessity. I have to eat it to live. That gold, It's got zero value when I'm starving and got no food.
Yeah.
Do you follow me?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So it's all mythical. It's all fantasy land.
Mm.
It's no different than walking into Disney World. You
Yeah.
know, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and all that. And they've got it to where, and I say they, the powers that be, whoever they are, they cannot be, in my mind, and I say this uh, reluctantly, but it can't be from this earth. It cannot be. Because there's no way that you can create such a brainwashing scheme out there and have people believe this nonsense. It's ridiculous. And they'll fight it. They will fight it to the end
Mm.
to defend that they believe this or believe that or believe the other. When in reality, it's all fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry.
no, it's crazy because ironically, like you were saying, the people that live on the land are living abundantly and can provide for themselves because they know how to live with the land. And yet, in this culture, we think, but we spend all week, like you say, most people just spend all week on the treadmill working, basically to keep bankers rich, just to, basically to hand over their money, in one form or another, whether it's through taxation or inflation or, or interest payments or whatever it is. We're basically just working all week to keep bankers rich, really, aren't we?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And so when you say that there's a guilt, or not you, but say some of your listeners might say there's some guilt, I feel zero guilt in slapping you in the wrist for holding you accountable for doing me wrong. I might have borrowed money, okay, but in reality, what gives you the right to lend it?
Mm.
What gives you the right to print it? See, here's the difference that I think, in my mind, I go a lot deeper than the average person. As you can probably already tell, but
Mm.
I look at it this way. When you can answer this question for me, I'll have guilt. What gives somebody on that side of the desk the right to just print money whenever they choose? Where did they get that authority? And what gives them that right to do so? And I'm on this side of the desk and I have to go work for mine.
Mm.
When you can answer the question, then I'll have the guilt.
Yeah.
Because somehow Ben over there on that side of the desk can just hit a print and there's billions of dollars. But if I do the same thing with the same printer and print the same money, it's called counterfeiting. I go to jail.
Mm.
Why are you allowed to do it and I'm not?
Yeah.
See, nobody has ever been able to answer that question for me. Nobody. In all my research, I can't bring it up anywhere either. Who and why are they allowed to print and we're not? What makes it a crime for me to do so and not you?
Mm.
Doesn't make any sense from a logical standpoint. So once again, here we are in our society where if I don't have this piece of paper, I'm hungry, I can't feed my children, I have no clothes, I have nowhere to stay. But the guy living on the land has none of those concerns because he has no money.
Mm.
He couldn't care less.
Yeah.
He gets up, he hunts, he comes back, everybody eats, they chill out under a tree or their hut or whatever it is that they've built for themselves. They got cows, they couldn't care less.
Mm.
Who's happier?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's got less stress?
Mm.
Have you ever seen those Aborigines, man? They look like they're 200 years old. They got no stress, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, guys, it's I'm just trying for the listeners to understand that the system is there to hold them accountable. Because if I'm going to play in a fantasy world, I have to understand the fantasy rules. I can't bring in real rules into a fantasy game. I can't do it because it's not going to work. It's never going to work.
Mm.
So they created this fantasy existence for us. We keep perpetuating it like dummies, right? So we have to learn to play within their realm.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, so we're using the existing rules and legislation and their own rules of the game against them, basically. Because a lot of people listening to this have been learning about the various free man on the land stuff and various different theories and
Yeah, there's no such thing. Yeah.
right, right. So the way you're doing things is you're using their own legislation and their own rules and their own court rules, and you're playing the game according to those rules, and right?
Yeah. And that way there's no controversy.
Hmm. Yeah.
There's no controversy. And if you do it enough times, like I have, or Larry has, or Dave has, some of our members have,
Hmm.
I send Ben Lowry an intent to sue letter And Ben looks up my name on Pacer, which shows all these cases and for the whole entire United States, and they see my name there,
Hmm.
and they see dismissed, 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 dismissed. That means that, oh wow, this guy wins and he's serious. Let me just give him his 2 grand and I'm going away. You see, the first one might give you a little trouble, but after 2 or 3 of them, the attorneys know better.
Yeah.
They just go, wow, I'm not even going to fight this guy because he wins every time. It's just not worth it. Whether he's right or wrong, it's going to cost my client $10,000 to defend a $2,000 claim.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we never say, "Hey, sue for," you know, something that there's no claim for. Don't ever do that. That's ridiculous. Okay, unfounded claims just don't. That's just not the way to do it.
Right.
But the reality is that you need to uh, hold the banksters and the debt collectors accountable for their debt, and you got to stop falling into the trap.
Hmm.
Okay, and get out of the guilt and get out of that system. I can't tell you. Like I say, my wife and I laugh and we chuckle, and my wife's a diehard Christian, always was her whole life, and she says, oh, and she knows how I feel about religion. And I told her, I says, listen, honey, you got to get over these chains and these shackles. You got to let all that loose.
Hmm.
Once you let that loose, I can't tell you how much happier and freer you're going to be.
Hmm.
And man, my wife, and I'm telling you, her and I laugh. She says, Jess, I cannot believe being debt free, how fun it is, how relaxing it is,
Hmm.
because you just don't think about those pressures anymore.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just don't think about those pressures anymore.
It can
You
really.
get a letter from a debt collector. Like here, I got a letter sitting right here for her from a debt collector. Well, here's another one from Calvary. Okay. Uh, that she owed this debt.
Hmm.
Well, this letter alone, okay, is worth at least 3 grand.
Right.
$3,000.
So
I got another
so
one.
the way they've behaved is, a violation of the thing, and that could result in 3 grand's worth of penalties, right?
Correct.
Right.
Minimum.
Right.
And we sue attorneys, and we sue them all. It's not just one.
Hmm.
We sue them all. It doesn't matter. And I've never lost a case. Never once have we lost a case. I think one of our members lost a case. It was his own damn fault. A little $500 case, but he lost it because he didn't do what he was supposed to do.
Hmm.
They get overzealous, and they start to do things that they're not supposed to do, which is normal. It's normal human behavior. But the point is that, guys, you have to hold these people accountable. You cannot allow them to threaten you, harass you. They still have to be respectful of you, and they're not. And you just have to address that in a manner that has to be profitable for you. That's the way I look at it.
Is it?
So it's you can do this as a full-time job and make yourself an easy 30 to 40, $50,000 a year. It'll help the unemployment rate here in the States anyway. Uh, put more money in the economy.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it'll take down the debt collectors, and that's what's important to us, is to shut them down.
Hmm.
We have one member who just received his third payment from the same debt collector, and he jokingly said the debt collector was so broke he offered to make me payments.
That's
That's a
incredible.
fact. And last Tuesday's call, he got on there. He said, "I finally got my last payment from this guy," and he got $3,700.
My gosh.
I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of change. And right before the holidays, right before Christmas, the week of Christmas, the week before Christmas, man, people were getting on there saying, "Oh, I just got 5 grand. I just got 2 grand. I just got 1,000. I got 7,000. It's gonna be the best Christmas we've had in years." That makes me feel good, man. And we're able to help some folks.
So, Jesse, tell us about the other guys you work with. There's Larry. I don't know much about them, but what do they
Larry,
do?
Larry is uh, a partner with us, and he's the expert on the FCRA. John is an expert on protecting your money. Our system allows you to protect your money from being garnished and wages from being garnished.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So there's ways to do that. So it doesn't matter. I mean, listen, our system allows you to do two things. You can fight back and get paid, right? Or you can set yourself up to where you ignore all of these idiots and never have to worry about them taking any money.
Oh, I see.
So you can ignore it. You never have to go to court. You never have to do anything.
Oh, so you've got asset protection strategies in there as well, then?
Yeah, it's 100% proven.
Right. Hey, Jesse, I don't know if you've ever heard of a book called Passing the Buck, have you?
No, I have not.
There was a couple, nice couple that I interviewed, the authors, and they've written it, and it was about common law trusts and asset protection and stuff, and they sent me a copy. I'm just reading it at the moment, yeah, but I don't know how it relates to the type of strategies you guys do, but
Yeah, well, anytime you start saying common law,
hmm,
it makes me nervous.
right,
Period.
right,
I'm sorry. Anything to do with that kind of stuff just drives me nuts.
right. And what do you mean by that?
Well, once again, if you go into a court using certain terms or certain processes, they never work because they got no enforcement.
Hmm,
That's the part that I don't like. But if you have a garnishment on your wages through the court system, then the next guy who comes to the court to try to garnish it says, "Whoa, he's already garnished. There's nothing I can do," and just leaves.
oh, I see. I'm with you.
You
Right,
follow me? If you have things in trusts and all that, man, no matter what, they'll crack it. I mean,
right,
it's just that it's trusts are all good and dandy, but you got to be careful with trusts if they're not set up properly, and you're better off doing things through corporations, through
right,
another trust can own corporations, and nobody knows who that is, and they'll never find it when they look through the public registry. If they try to put up Ben Lowry, well, they're never going to find Ben that owns anything.
right.
But if ABC Trust owns it and you're the trustee or you're the beneficiary of that trust, well, you're never going to show up, but you're still in charge of that business.
I see. So this is kind of own nothing, control everything type of thing, is it?
That's my favorite. Isn't it the best way to work? Own nothing, control everything.
Think like a Rockefeller, in other words.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So you teach that type of stuff as part of your service as well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep. Yep.
Right. So the first thing people can do, to be a member, they need to pay. But if they want to come and just listen to the podcast for free at first, they can come and kind of do that for free, can they? To get a bit of a feel and a bit of a taster of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, but see, people have a bad habit of doing that too much,
Yeah.
and uh, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
If you're going to go in and you're having these issues, just do what you got to do. You got a 60-day money back guarantee.
Hmm.
No questions asked. Do you know of any other system out there that does that, Ben?
No, sounds pretty good.
If you want a mortgage audit, you go to mortgage.whatliesinyourmortgage.com and you put in your name and your email and you get an email that sends it out, what you need to send in for free. We don't charge you to look up your mortgage. If it's securitized, they'll send you back an email and say, "Hey, it's securitized. We found it on Bloomberg. If you want the audit, great. This is what you need to send. And if you don't, well, tough. We're doing a 3-pay plan on the audit, so it's even easier. You make 3 monthly payments instead of having to come up with $1,000.
Yeah.
We're doing everything we can to help the whole entire community
Right.
with things that have 100% success rates.
So to be a member, it's $99 for the first month, and then $49 thereafter each month.
Yeah, until the membership, till you need it.
Okay.
And if you're sharp, listen, the members or the non-members, you can go to the site and you can type in your name and address. You don't have to join. You're going to get an email back. You're going to get a lot of free documentation. You're going to be put on our mailing list for all our phone calls. You're going to be put on the mailing list for any interesting cases that come out or results that we achieved. You'll be emailed with that. We don't bombard our members and non-members with emails. We just don't do it. But you're also going to get a link that goes to a free webinar. And that webinar explains what I talked about earlier about the credit pools and how to go about getting your money from those. Okay. Now with that, here's a chance for you to go make 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and we have a ton of members who've used the free webinar to pay for their membership
I see.
because they just didn't have any money.
Yeah.
Okay. So uh, I'm kind of cold hearted, I guess, Ben, when it comes to the situation. I say, listen, you're not paying a mortgage or rent. You can afford 49 bucks a month to go make money.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I can't shed a tear for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, no,
Because
no.
I've been down and out. I mean,
Yeah,
I know how it feels, but the only way you're going to get back on your feet is by doing something, taking action.
yeah,
And if you got to scrounge, if you got to borrow, beg, and steal, get yourself that 99 bucks. Do it because it's going to put money into your pocket.
yeah.
It's going to do it. Guaranteed it's going to do it as long as you take the proper action.
So if people really go for it and they're proactive and they do what you're teaching, they, like you say, they could collect a couple of grand following
Relatively
what.
fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Relatively fast. And last year, I don't even know what I was up to, but I can tell you this: I took a 10-day vacation with my wife. I took another 10 or 11-day fishing trip slash vacation with my wife up to the Ozarks. I bought a 2005 Dodge Ram Hemi, and well, I had a heck of a good Christmas, and I still had cash left over, all bought and paid for by the debt collectors. And I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
I was going to send an email out to that effect, and I thought I better not. I did, but it's funny because Gary, my webmaster, and I actually he's my proof. Dave, I got all Larry. Right at Christmas time, Larry got a check for 7,000 bucks. I got a check for 8,000 bucks.
Wow.
Several between us and our members, the week of Christmas and the week before Christmas, I bet you we got close to 100 grand.
My God. Yeah.
So once again, I cannot shed a tear. I
Yeah.
cannot. There's very few pity tears left in my eyes because I tell all the members and the listeners, listen, we've given you a way to go join for free.
Yeah.
We've given you a way to go pay if you have the funds, the 99 bucks, and go take advantage of a system that's going to make you a bunch of money, thousands of dollars,
Mm,
and keep you in your homes or help you get out of a bad debt that you want to get out of.
mm.
Okay? Hold on, man. She is again. So, regardless, you have always have means of making money. That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What if there's people listening from the UK or from Canada? How does this relate? You said the process is the same, but the,
The process is all the same. The laws in Canada are almost a mirror image of the laws here.
right,
The laws in the UK's are very, very similar.
right. So is it still worthwhile for those people to join? Are they going to still get what they need from it?
I can't speak for those people,
Okay.
Ben. But what I can tell you is this: that if you join and you spend $300 or $400 and you get access to the materials and you can put together a system in your country, in the UK or Canada, based on this process, for you to go make yourself a few $1,000 because it sets you into the right direction,
Yeah.
and it's a well worth the investment.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Completely. Yeah. I see. So yeah, yeah. So it's
Because
what?
all you're doing is looking for direction.
Yeah.
What do I need to do here in Canada? Okay, this is what they're using there. This is what they're using here. This is what's applicable here. Let me go look that same thing up in Canada or the UK and apply it the
Yeah.
same way they're applying it. And it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Same logic, and just need to find the equivalent applicable legislation, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Wow. So do you enjoy all this, Jesse? I get the impression you do.
You don't even want to go there, man. This is this to me is probably the funnest thing we've ever done.
Yeah.
Being part of it, watching it grow, watching the successes we've had, watching, getting the emails from members, sharing in their successes. It's just, it's an absolute awesome feeling. It really, really is.
And
I can't say anything more than that, Ben. It's awesome because it works.
you've only been going a year, you said.
I've only been going a year. It was January 19th was a year.
Brilliant, brilliant.
And,
I really, we did an interview a couple of months ago before Christmas, and I recommend it to people all the time because what I like about you, Jesse, and what you guys are doing is it's like you keep saying, it's real results. It's none of this kind of wishful thinking, hypothetical kind of thing that's never going to work. It's actual stuff that really works for real, isn't it?
Yeah, and it works without you having to go to jail to prove it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Tell me about it.
Yeah, listen, once again, I look at things from a very, very logical standpoint. I try not to convolute things.
Hmm,
And I've always thought to myself, I have a friend who's serving 10 years in prison
hmm,
for an administrative process he used to get his home allegedly free and clear. It didn't work.
hmm,
I have another friend who's serving 50 years for using his account, which isn't his account,
hmm.
to process funds through the Social Security account.
You know what? If you don't mind, could we just expand on that? Because I hear so many people talking about these mysterious birth certificate bond account, and all this type of stuff. Just elaborate. I mean, in your opinion, does that exist or?
It absolutely does exist, and that money is absolutely there. I've seen it used. I've seen it work. I've seen people cash checks with it. I've seen people get titles to their trucks and vehicles and homes. And I know people who are sitting in their home free and clear right now because they never caught it and it went through.
Right.
But I have a simple question for you, Ben.
Yeah.
Did you start that account?
No.
So is it yours to use?
No.
Then why are you trying to use it?
That would be like me trying to draw a check on your bank account.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It might have your name on it. It might have your social security number on it. But first of all, that's not your social security number. And second of all, you signed away and said they could do it.
Yeah.
So now you're going to go back and try to use something that's not yours. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just so we're clear, we're talking about A for V, basically, aren't we? Just so our listeners are
A for
clear.
V's, OIDs, all that other nonsense.
Yeah.
You know,
That's what I keep telling people. It's none of my business what if they're making bets on what they think I'm going to do in the future. If the government is printing money or whatever on the basis that I'm probably going to pay tax in the future, it's really none of my business. That's their own game they're playing.
I kind of look at it the same.
Yeah.
I'm not anti it. I understand it. I've been studying it and to one degree or another for over 20 years.
Mm,
And I've come to the realization of simplicity. Once again, don't convolute things.
yeah.
If you convolute things, that's when you get in trouble.
Mm,
Now, I'll give you an example. My friend that's serving 50 years, he got the title to his vehicle. Why is he serving 50 years? Not because he used a check that he wrote from his UCC account that actually cleared for $34,000. He's serving 50 years for writing a check off of an account that he wasn't authorized to use,
right.
which is fraud.
Mm,
And he received fraudulent conveyance of title to a vehicle by doing that.
right.
So that case, what happened, listen to what I just said. They admitted that that money's there. They admitted that the account's there. And the charges were that you used an account that you weren't allowed to use.
Which makes perfect sense to me.
That's right.
I mean, I don't disagree with them.
50 years. Murderers don't get 50 years.
My God.
They don't want him back out on the street.
Yeah.
And he did that for so many people, I can't tell you how many people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so, when they want to get you, they'll get you
Yeah.
no matter what. And that's the way it works. And until you have a higher consciousness existing on this earth, meaning consciousness, we all as a group of one entire group of people that can come together and say, okay, this is nonsense. There's no sense in bickering, arguing, or enforcing something that's a fantasy. So you accept that, it's never going to change. But when people are over here saying, well, wait a minute, instead of saying you wrote a check off of an account that you didn't have the right to use, why isn't that judge saying, well, what account is this and do I have one? And why is it that it's there?
Mm,
And where did I give you? You see what I mean?
mm,
You have the judge enforcing part of the fantasy.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's my point. And when you live in a system, and your system is no different than our system, that if I don't get righted here, my only other option is to go see another magistrate or judge, right? And if I don't get righted there, then my only other option is to go see another magistrate or judge
Mm.
till I get all the way up to the highest court of the land, which is still just what? Another judge,
Yeah.
which all belong to the same group of crooks and thieves.
Yeah.
How do I get any justice?
No, no, no. It's their bat, their ball, isn't it?
Yeah, you see? So when you realize all that, and you realize that you're just kind of here temporarily,
Mm.
you know, and you kind of look at the game, I think that should be our goal as people, is to just sit back and go, okay, the gig is up, man.
Mm.
I understand this to some degree, and I have to be comfortable saying I don't know anything, and I'm okay with it.
Mm.
But I'm not falling for the game.
Mm.
You're not going to put the guilt and the pressure on me over the money, and you're not, none of that's going to work anymore.
Yeah.
My family's more important, my children, my wife, my parents, my friends, my relationships.
Mm.
That's what's important while we're here,
Yeah.
right? Not the other nonsense. So when I see the opportunity to say, okay, you want to play in the fantasy world, and I can slap you in the wrist with a fantasy law or administrative remedy or whatever it is that you choose to do that gets you the results.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily make it right because you're just partaking in their game. But unfortunately, while you're here, you don't have much of a choice.
Mm.
So while I'm here, am I going to play the victim? Or am I going to take charge of this situation at hand? And that's what I choose to do. I choose to take charge, and I choose to help people take charge and empower themselves so they're no longer the victim. Oh, I lost my job. Oh, I can't pay you. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no, sorry. Hey, listen, I lost my job. That's part of life. Millions of people lose their jobs. That still doesn't give you the right to come and harass me.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it right. What you're doing is not right. And now you owe. So go give me some more of that fantasy money.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's just a game.
So, what's your vision for the future? What do you think in terms of like the big picture of society? Like, what would you like to see? How would you like society to be in an ideal kind of scenario?
I'd like for people to take care of each other and get out of the STS world that they're living in, the service to self world.
Mm.
I'd like for people to understand that or not understand, but to start seeing all the different control mechanisms that are around us. Ben, do you understand? Are you a religious kind of guy?
Well, I'd say spiritual, not religious.
Okay. So you would understand when I say that if I'm a Christian and I believe that Christ died for my sins and I believe that he is the savior and the light and the whole nine yards, would be no different than an Indian saying a cow is sacred, and no different than a Middle Easterner saying Allah is God.
Mm.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right? You understand the differences between them, or do you understand the similarities between them?
Yeah, the similarities, yeah.
Okay? The similarity is Jesus Christ is Mickey Mouse, the cow would be Donald Duck, Allah would be Goofy.
Mm.
Okay? And you still have people to this day who will sit there and fight and argue and kill over Donald Duck, Goofy, and Mickey Mouse
Mm.
to
Mm.
prove that their fantasy is real.
Yeah.
They're willing to die over something that has zero proof behind it.
Mm.
You just have to understand there's a creator. There's no doubt about it. Look around you.
Mm.
But the way you label that creator is not worth dying for. It's not worth arguing over. It's not worth fighting over.
Yeah.
If Donald Duck and you like Donald Duck, I don't like Donald Duck. I like Mickey Mouse. But that's okay. It's okay that you like Donald Duck.
Yeah.
It's absolutely. Does it make you feel good, Ben? Yes, good. Love Donald Duck.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you still believe in the creator, a creator.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
But instead, our egos and the will to be or the want to be right to show that I'm right and you're wrong has led this entire planet into wars and battles and people dying and witch hunts, and it goes back forever.
Mm.
Come on, man. Isn't this some kind of age of enlightenment going on here? We're finally starting to see that the crooks, the government, all the things that are going on behind the scenes. You know, you got to see that no different than money, religion, those sex, those are all control mechanisms.
Mm.
And if you allow those to control you, then that's when you're done. You might as well cave in. And as my son said to me, my son's 19 years old, and he said to me about, I don't know, a month and a half ago, sitting in the garage, we're working on the boat together, and we're listening to an audio. And he says, Dad, you carry a big burden on your shoulders, and it's a lot easier to not know this stuff because you just don't have the burden. And that's what people choose to do.
Yeah.
So people choose to look the other way because it's easier.
Mm.
Because once you know this, the burden is just, it's a never ending learning curve. So the burden just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
I don't look at it that way. My answer in response to him was, it's not a burden, son. It's an enlightenment that brings me closer to my creator
Mm.
because I've dropped the walls. I'm breaking down those walls that whoever is trying to control me is putting up there for me to believe.
Yeah.
So it's not a negative, it's a positive.
Yeah.
It's not a burden, it's a gift. That
Yeah.
makes sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So when I look at society, I'd love to be able to tell somebody, do you really believe that that cow is sacred? Because I believe that that cow is a hamburger and it goes really good with cheese and ketchup and lettuce and tomato and, you know, and not be offending that person.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You believe it's sacred. I believe it's food. It's okay.
Yeah.
And guess what? Both of them are okay.
Mm.
Till we can get along at that level, on a planetary level, it's never going to change.
Yeah.
It's only going to get worse.
Mm.
It's only going to get worse. And just look at this race in the United States. I don't know what you're seeing on TV in the UK, but they've kept Ron Paul out of the media as much as they possibly could.
Mm.
It's almost like a ban on him. Whether he does good, bad, where he's at, what he's doing, it doesn't matter. If they're taking a photo shot of the debates, they cut it out right where he's standing, so you can't see him, but everybody else to the right of him or to the left of him is there. And if you don't realize that that is nothing but a conspiracy to make sure this guy doesn't get hired,
Yeah.
something is wrong with you. I mean, you got to be blind.
Yeah.
You know. And again, it all falls to divide and conquer. Oh, well, you're a Republican, or I'm a Democrat. Don't you understand at the end of the day, they all go have a beer together and Sundays they're golfing together and they laugh their heads all the way to the bank
Mm.
because they say it doesn't matter. These monkeys are fighting amongst themselves.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They've done what they've wanted to achieve.
Mm.
You see? And again, another control mechanism. And you have to realize these things. Once you realize these things, then you start going, wait a minute. Something's not right with this whole deal.
Yeah.
And that's when, like I said, the more of those you can eliminate, the more walls you can break down, the more you learn and you understand, uh, the better you'll feel at the end. The healthier you are, the better you think. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't explain it, Ben. It's almost like a freedom that's just lifted up completely off your shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. I think particularly this point in history, because we've got the internet for the first time, and so it's not, people are awakening so fast now because the spread of information is just so easy over the internet, isn't it? But, it's not so easy for the government to control people's minds with its propaganda so much anymore. It's like kind of the cat's out of the bag type of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you heard of the? Let me get you this real quick. Hold on. There is a new treaty that was just signed to control internet.
Oh, is that the actor thing?
Yeah, I think it is. There it is, ACTA.
Yeah, I heard something about that. Yeah.
It's a global censorship treaty.
Right.
How ridiculous is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, They never thought the internet would be there.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah. 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 It's kind of depressing, isn't it? The thought that they could stop stop this spread of information kind of thing.
I don't think they can,
Mm.
but they can try to put a hurting on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think they can. I've had that conversation with my webmaster many times, and he understands all the complexities of all the different IP addresses and all that other stuff that are involved in controlling internet. It's almost impossible.
Right. Right. But generally speaking, I'm quite optimistic. I think there's a lot of momentum now. A lot of people are kind of waking up to
Oh yeah, my
reality.
father-in-law. Yeah, my father-in-law is on the pessimistic side, and
Mm,
he's been on top of this since the '50s.
right.
And I always try to be the optimistic person. And oh, the dollar's going to crash. I got to buy a bunch of silver and gold. No, the dollar's not going to crash.
Mm,
That's their main form of control. Oh, the euro's going to crash. No, the euro's not going to crash. They'll bail out the euro. We will bail out the euro because that's Europe's main form of control. It's all the same central bank printing both currencies. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
They're not going to allow their control to leave. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I keep telling them these things. It's always something. And I keep saying, listen, at the end of the day, what's going to happen is going to happen. And if there's a complete meltdown, I don't care how much food you have in your closet. I don't care how much gold or silver you have buried in your backyard. It ain't going to matter.
Mm.
Understand that. It's not going to matter. When you look at old pictures of World War II or World War I, everything was blown to pieces.
Mm.
Were you able to go find anything? If you had your gold stashed in a building 5 miles from your house, what does it matter if it's blown to pieces?
Mm.
You follow me?
Yeah.
If there's a hurricane or a flood and you have your basement or your attic full of food, well, there goes all your stash for 6 months.
Mm.
You see? It doesn't matter. When things are going to happen, it's out of our control. We're not meant to control those things.
Mm. Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in that. And I believe that the momentum, like you say, there's a worldwide consciousness that's happening. It's an awakening to some degree. There's still a lot of walls and barriers that need to be broken. There's no doubt about it.
Mm.
I see them all the time. I see them everywhere I go. I see them with myself. So, as the Bible says, remember, pull that out of your own eye before you go pulling out of anybody else's eye. At the end of the day, that's the truth. That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
You got to look at it, and when you break it all down, everybody's got situations. Everybody has them. Everybody's got things they're going to have to work through, and it's work in progress. Once again, our existence, I think, is based on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are. It's one of those type of things that until we all wake up again, and we all start looking at this together from a different point of view, which is happening, Ben. I agree with you. There's a lot going on.
Mm.
Nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
And what did our last interview have? Over 5,000? I lost the link, so I don't know. I can't go look at it.
Yeah, over 5,000. Yeah, I think nearly 6,000 views. Yeah.
Okay. We've not had a jump of 5,000 people on our mailing list.
Yeah.
Okay. So why is it that 6,000 people look at something, but 6,000 people don't even have the time or the desire to go and say, I'm not going to join because I don't have the money, or I don't believe it works, or I live in the UK or Canada, but I'm going to get on their mailing list and I'm going to get on their phone calls and see what this is about, see what other direction I might be able to take or learn or be awakened from. Why? See, those are the things that make me always curious when I see comments on your thing as, oh, this is awesome, sounds great, these guys are great, that's fine and dandy, but I didn't see 6,000 people join a mailing list or 6,000 people on a phone call on Tuesday night.
Mm.
What motivates these people? If money doesn't motivate people, as the old saying goes, then what the heck does?
Yeah.
Because I'm showing you how to make money.
Yeah.
I'm showing you how to preserve your money.
Mm.
And yet you're not jumping on the bandwagon. What's the problem?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do I got to give you free tickets to a nudie house or something? Will that motivate you? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because if I was a listener, me personally, if I was listening, and I heard something like this, I'd definitely go in and investigate it to 100%.
Mm.
Period. If nothing more than just to either say, I'm going to debunk it
Mm.
or this is actually works. I got to find this out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
since I don't value, here's the difference, I guess. And I guess to a fault, my wife says, I put no value on money.
Mm.
I don't mind spending $100 to find something out because it's just a piece of paper.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do not put value on that money, as crazy as that sounds. I never have and I never will.
Yeah.
So it's irrelevant to me. I'll spend $100 here. I'll bite. Here's $100. Let's go look.
Yeah.
I got 60 days to ask for it back.
Yeah.
So I got nothing to lose.
No brainer, isn't it?
Yeah. And if I tell you, go look for your mortgage, let's check for you to see if it's securitized, and it costs you nothing, why wouldn't I do it?
Yeah.
I'm in foreclosure, not in foreclosure, thinking about a foreclosure, thinking about walking away and turning the house back or whatever. If it's free, why wouldn't I do it?
Yeah. No, it doesn't make any sense.
I don't get people, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, once again, let me throw that website out for the mortgages.
Yeah.
What lies, LIS, in your mortgage.com. Just go there, put your name and your address in, your email address, and then you're going to get an email that's going to guide you on what paperwork needs to be turned in. And we've had a lot of people turn it in from Canada, believe it or not, that have gone there.
Right.
From our normal listening audience. Yeah, yeah. And we encourage everybody that watches this and those 5,000 people that have watched it to get on our calls. It's Tuesday night, 8 o'clock talk show. Why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Do you send emails to your followers, Ben?
Yeah, I do about once a month or so. Yeah.
Oh, that's all. So you don't remind them, hey, there's a Tuesday night call.
No,
Maybe
but
you ought to.
that would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that would be a good idea. I could forward on the emails that you send out, actually, couldn't I?
Yes. And our talk show ID is 98842, and it's Tuesdays at 8 o'clock Eastern.
Hmm.
And they're generally about 3-hour phone calls.
Yeah.
It's open and answer. You don't even have to call. You can log in just online and listen and chat, and you don't have to spend the money on that if you're overseas. You can Skype in. I mean, whatever you want, but it's talk show, and the talk show ID is 98842. And you ought to send in those emails, and you forward those emails that we're sending you to all your list, so they know, because maybe they'd get on.
Yeah. 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 Let's get people on it.
Yeah, yeah. The more the better. I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds of listeners every week. It's crazy, and hundreds of downloads, which is fantastic. Replays.
Yeah.
But we always encourage everybody. Listen, you don't know who might need this help. You don't know who has a bad situation in their life that hides it. So forward on the opportunity, forward on the phone calls. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I have doctors, not doctors, multiples, lawyers that are members that are absolutely so, buddy. And I'm proud to say that. I'm absolutely proud to say that. I'm absolutely proud to say that 2 weeks ago, one of my very, very best friends who I've been preaching to for the last 10 years, who happens to be one of the best litigators here in Central Florida, called me and says, all right, I want you to handle my foreclosure case. Okay? Here's a lawyer. He says, you write up all the motions and all the stuff. I'll go ahead and litigate it, but you write it all up. I trust you. Tell me what direction you need me to go, Jess. So when I get things like that coming my way, I know I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
And he's just tired. He says, I'm done. I'm done paying on this house. He owes $750,000 on a $400,000 home.
God.
Yeah, that's what's happened. And I'm an attorney. I can't do that. I got a good reputation. I want to be a judge. I want to da 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 da. Finally, he's saying, "Wait a minute. I'm killing myself to keep the banks rich." When they were all fraudulent appraisals, fraudulent loans, everything was fraudulent. He's finally starting to realize that. 2 years ago, when it was national news that J.P. Morgan Chase committed fraud in the robo-signing and all, I must have got 200 emails from people who said, we thought you were a quack and now you're not. I can't believe it.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been saying this for years, since '04. This is nothing new, guys. We've been fighting foreclosure since the early 2000s. See, everybody thinks that the crash came in 2008. It did not come in 2008. This crash started in 2000.
Hmm.
And nothing but '04 and '05 and '06 was an attempt to save the economy by flooding it with money.
Hmm.
Printing, more fantasy money.
Yeah.
That's what happened. See, and it didn't work. That's created the housing bubble. Remember when the dot-com bubble busted, what has everybody known and were taught in that generation? Where to put your money and it was safe. Real estate.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
There was 9 trillion, and I challenge any one of your listeners, go look this up. It's all documented. $9 trillion was taken out of the Wall Street, out of the stock market, and put into real estate between 1999 and 2002.
Cool. So, am I right? Greenspan made it easier to lend money and create money and stuff. They lowered the lending
Along with
requirements.
Clinton administration, absolutely.
Right, and so they lowered the criteria, and that flooded the economy with, and that
They eliminated the criteria. Not
right,
low, eliminated. If you had a heartbeat, okay, sign here.
right, and
And that was in an attempt to recover and flood the market with something because the economy was floundering then.
mm,
Just people don't realize that.
yeah,
When a $5 an hour guy, because that was minimum wage back then, could walk in and go buy $100,000 house,
mm,
something's not right with that picture.
mm,
Something is absolutely not right. And it's funny. I heard Obama or one of his lynchmen say that it was wrong for the banks to lend all that money and that owning a home is a privilege.
mm,
Really? It's a privilege to own a home? Yeah, I guess slaves are privileged to own homes.
mm, mm,
Everybody else is just rent.
yeah,
But I can't believe I heard that. But my point is that the market crashed when the stock market crashed. The dot-com bubble started this whole mess.
yeah,
And throughout those years, it just took that much time to get everything back and running.
yeah,
And then eventually it caught up with them. There's no doubt about it. A $5 an hour guy cannot keep going.
mm,
And it all stair steps. Because if I have a lot of money, I'm buying homes, I'm buying cars, I'm buying jet skis, I'm spending on my credit cards,
mm,
I'm buying and refurbishing my house, I'm building pools, I'm doing additions, I'm re-roofing, which in turn turns the construction industry back on. They're building homes and selling it. You know what I mean?
mm,
Everybody, but eventually, little sector by sector, it starts to dehydrate till it just disappears.
yeah,
And that's what's happened.
yeah,
Construction industry finally went away. The new home building's gone down to almost nil. The resales of the homes. Now you got a shadow inventory sitting out there. They're saying that for 2012, there's 10 million homes in shadow inventory on top of the 6 million foreclosures.
And what does shadow inventory mean?
Shadow inventory means these homes are people who are 30, 60, 90, 120 days behind that are going to go in foreclosure or already have been foreclosed that are still living in their homes that the bank doesn't want to put out on market.
Oh, 10 million.
10 million.
God, that's a lot.
Yeah. You got an email, because if you're on my email list, I sent it out just at the end of last year that said specifically how many people were in foreclosure, how many people were in. I still have those data numbers. It's in the millions. It's past 10 million.
Mm,
Of people currently, 0 to 30 days behind on mortgage, 30 to 60 days, over 120 days, stuff like that.
mm,
And it's just daunting. It's absolutely daunting.
yeah, yeah, it's one heck of a mess, isn't it?
Yeah, and then everybody wants to say, "Oh, it's the Great Recession." We've been in a depression since '08,
Mm,
because when you compare numbers back to the Great Depression, there's 51 million Americans right now on welfare in the United States. Do you know that?
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah. Do you ever go to my news section, Ben?
No, I don't actually. I don't have a mortgage, so no.
You might be able to share something with your community if you do that every day.
Right.
Okay, 51 million Americans are on welfare in one way, shape, form, or another.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so if you have 51 million people that are collecting food stamps, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, none of that existed during the Great Depression.
Mm,
Understand this. that didn't exist.
Right.
Okay. Second of all, you didn't have every Tom, Dick, and Harry who owed $5,000 on a credit card because there was no such thing.
Hmm.
You didn't have every other American, 1 in 6 Americans who's in foreclosure or facing foreclosure. 1 in 3 if you're in Phoenix or Las Vegas. 1 in 7 if you're in Florida. Depending on where in Florida, if you're in Miami, it's 1 in 4.
God.
You didn't have these devastational numbers out there. Billions, trillions. You didn't have bailouts. You didn't have all these headaches during the Depression.
Hmm.
So you're telling me that we're not in a depression that's far worse than the Great Depression?
Hmm.
See, more lies, more fantasy. They
Yeah.
can print money, so just print, print, and print.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. The latest report this morning I was reading, it says the Watchdog report shows that the taxpayers are still owed $132.9 billion
The, the,
yet to be recovered.
the IRS is owed that.
No, we are the taxpayers for all
Oh.
the bailout money to the banks and
Oh,
to
I
every-
see. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so that's it's ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
You look at this whole system, man. That's part of the motivation for our system is to just say, you know what, we can't get it back from our government, we can't get it back from the IRS, we can't. So we'll just get it back from the debt collectors and the attorneys. And enough people do that, you're going to put these debt collectors out of business,
Mm.
and you're going to put these attorneys out of business.
Mm.
And that's what it takes.
Yeah.
It takes enough people slapping them back on the wrist uh, to get even. And I got to tell you something. It's astonishing the membership of how stupid these attorneys are. No, you're chuckling. I'm not kidding you. When you become a member, you're going to know 10 times what the guy you're dealing with or the gal on the other end knows.
Right.
I'm not kidding you. You got to remember that in the UK and Canada and here, 90% of all these people who are litigating, or of all these attorneys, never litigate anything.
Right.
They sue you for a credit card, you never answer, you never show up, they go to court, the judge rubber stamps it, defaulted, and off they go.
Right.
When all of a sudden they are held to litigate, they don't know how to litigate.
Oh, I see. Right.
Oh, that's why people say, oh, this judge, the judge doesn't know the law because he's never had to really hear a case.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're dealing with two idiots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I see.
The
Yeah.
attorney doesn't know how to litigate because he doesn't have to litigate. The judge doesn't know how to try a case because he's never even had to listen to a case.
Yeah. Right.
He don't know what proper evidence is, what proper testimony is. He doesn't, but all our members do.
Right.
Excuse me.
So when you fight back, you're actually dealing with an attorney and a judge, neither of whom know what they're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah. I had a judge. This was about, I don't know, November. There's a specific rule, 2505, and this is called notice of appearance, right? When an attorney, if the attorney's not on the record, then they can't talk, they can't testify, they can't do anything in a court. Well, attorneys can't testify anyway, but they're not supposed to be representing that client, right? Because if there's no agreement, then you can't just stick any attorney you want in there. So I go to my hearing that day, and I knew the attorney who was going to show up. I call her a robo attorney. She walks in with cratefuls of cases, foreclosure cases. And I told the judge, I said, Your Honor, I don't know who this gal is, but she's infringing on my case and trespassing in this courtroom. And he looked at me, he says, how's that? And I said, she's not filed a notice of appearance under Rule 2505, Section C of the Florida Rules of Judicial Administration.
All right.
You know what he said to me? Well, I know her. I see her at least every other day or so. I can vouch for her. I said, really? Where does it say that in the rules? He goes, what the heck did he say? He said something stupid. And he just kept listening to her like it was okay.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead, he should have shut it down right then and there and said, okay, today the plaintiff had no representation, didn't show up. We have to rule in your favor. Nope, no way. This is what we're dealing with in all the court systems across the United States.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows how to litigate. Nobody. Yeah, yeah, and it goes the same in your country as here.
So
You know,
so most people give them too much credit. Really, we actually presume they're smarter than they are most of the time.
yeah. Oh, that same guy that called me last week is my friend, the litigator. I won't give his name. Well, I can give his first name, Mario. Um, told me years ago. He says, if I work in a firm and I'm making them a lot of money through litigation, okay,
Hmm.
do you think they're going to allow me to leave to be a judge?
No, I guess a legal firm is making much more money than yeah, than a judge is. Yeah.
So what they'll do is they'll send the dumbest guy in the firm to go be a judge, so then they can say, "Oh, look, we have so and so as a judge from our firm."
Right.
But so in society, we happen to look at a judge as somebody who might have a little bit of smarts.
Yeah.
I mean, in reality, he's probably the dumbest brick down the road. And that come right from an attorney's mouth
Yeah.
who wanted to be a judge, and his firm wouldn't allow him to go.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
makes him too much money.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay? So there. Does that answer your question about how
Right.
smart these guys are?
Yeah, because anybody with any ambition wouldn't want to be a judge, would
No, absolutely not, man.
they? Yeah. Oh, wow. My gosh. Well, Jesse, I'm gonna ask people to go to. I've got a link to your website. It's benlarry.com/debt, and I'll put that on the video so it's clear for people to see, so they can come and find you. And
Yeah, and then again, go to whatliesInYourMortgage.com
mm,
.com and see if your mortgage has been securitized free of charge. We don't charge you. Most places will make you pay the $1,000 and then come back and tell you, well, it wasn't securitized.
right.
We don't believe in doing that. And then join us on TalkShoe, 8 o'clock on Eastern Time, 8 o'clock on TalkShoe ID is 98842. We welcome you. We want the thousands of followers of Ben Lowry to be on that call. We want you to be so thick and so many that we shut down TalkShoe.
Mm.
They can't handle it, you know?
Mm, mm.
And listen, if you got nothing, the problem is 8 o'clock Eastern is what time in the morning over in the UK? 4 o'clock?
8 o'clock in the evening, your time plus 5 hours here, so that's the middle of our night here.
Yeah, yeah.
But people can listen to it on the because it's recorded, isn't it? So they can just get the podcast. They can listen to it afterwards.
They absolutely can. And I don't know how many listeners you have here in the United States, but for all of them that are here in the U.S., don't be hard-headed. Get on there.
Yeah,
Learn something. Open up your minds. Give it a chance.
yeah,
And get on there.
yeah,
I'm telling you, you'll make yourself, you'll be impressed. Let's just put it that way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Jesse, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today and encourage us with what's possible. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not aggravating. It's not stressful. It's not anything. People think lawsuits and court and judges and, oh my God, I can't. Oh, that's so much fun. It's ridiculous when you start seeing how much smarter you are than they are. And you just play stupid.
right.
Just act stupid. Don't worry about it. It works every time, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
It works real well. So
Fantastic. I really appreciate what you're doing. It's great. It's really
thanks.
great what you guys are doing.
And I appreciate you having me on your show, man.
Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. Well, I'll leave you to it so you can go about your day, and I'll get this up on YouTube online so people can listen to it. And I've really enjoyed talking to you, Jesse. Thanks
Thank
again.
you, man. Appreciate it. Send me a link too.
Yeah, will do. All right.
Okay,
Okay.
buddy.
Bye for now.
Have a terrific day, Ben.
Yeah, you too. Bye bye.
Okay, man.
Cheers.